a MIDI controller is going to be one of the really important parts of gear in your home studio. Now, MIDI controllers come in a wide variety of different formats and are designed to meet a huge variety of budget points. Now, you'll find that there'll be MIDI control keyboard, MIDI controllers that are drum pads for finger drumming, that are keyboards, like the one we're going to be looking at here, that are a bank of faders, which are designed to control the faders in a DAW. They're really designed in a wide variety of formats, and you want to choose one that's perfect for you. Kind of really do some shopping and see which one meets your needs. That said, a MIDI control keyboard, like a piano keyboard type of input, is pretty much essential, and I think that's going to be one of the ones that you're really going to want to purchase. The MIDI control keyboard I have here is very simple, and it's so simple it's what we call class compliant, which actually is quite nice in that this can plug right in and just work right away. No drivers are necessary. A larger keyboard with more functions, with the drum pads, more faders, bunches of encoders, and pressure sensors will usually require a small piece of software called a driver that tells the computer how to communicate with that device. So if you do plug in your keyboard and it doesn't work right away, I would suggest first looking in the manufacturer website and downloading the latest driver. That usually fixes most issues with a keyboard. Now, the MIDI specification does have its own type of cable. It's a 5-pin DIN cable designed specifically for MIDI, but we don't really find ourselves using them much anymore. Instead, the MIDI controller keyboards attach to our computer with USB, which is nice high speed and also kind of announces itself in this nice handshaking function where the computer immediately recognizes what's connected to it, which we didn't have with MIDI cables. Also, with USB, communication is bidirectional. It goes from the keyboard out to the device and from the device to the keyboard. MIDI would require 2 cables to have that bidirectional functionality. I'd like to point out some of the important principles and characteristics of this keyboard controller. And the first thing we notice is it does have about 2 octaves of keys, and if you want to go outside those 2 octaves, there's a nice octave button to jump up and down. And one of the downsides of a device this big is it's hard to play kind of large chords or use both hands at once, but the octave function can make it a little more nimble. The next thing we'll notice, and we see this often on keyboard controllers, is that we have a pitch bend and a mod wheel. And the pitch bend is a kind of larger knob that snaps back to its middle state. And it really is designed to control the pitch of the patch that you're currently controlling. Now, there's no definite amount that will control the pitch. On some patches, it'll go up a step and down a step. On other patches, it might go up an octave and down a step. It really can vary from patch to patch. And some patches and some samplers and synths will completely ignore pitch bend. One important thing to know about pitch bend is it's a higher resolution than all the other knobs. We have a knob for mod wheel right next to it. This will send values from 0 to 127. Pitch bend sends many, many more values. The control change, like modulation, is a control change message, and control change messages have 2 data words, one saying which controller it is it controller 1 or controller 10 or controller 20, and the other data word is what value is it, from 0 to 127. Pitch bend kind of combines both those words to make one really large number, and that's how it can be so specific and at such a high resolution. So it's perfect for pitch because we can detect fine changes in pitch, so we need that higher resolution for that one parameter. This knob next to it is the mod wheel, and in most cases, it sends CC number 1, and that will often control a very important parameter within your synth. But again, there's no definite thing that it will control. On some synths, it might control an amount of vibrato. On others, it might be volume. On others, it might be something totally different. Each patch can change what that knob actually controls. If I go across this keyboard, I'll see a variety of different knobs, kind of a collection of 8 knobs. And this is very, very common on keyboard control surfaces to have a collection of 8 knobs like this. And these are all going to send control change messages. Many synths and samplers are now designed with 8 knobs on them, often called macro controls, that will control the 8 really important parameters within that patch. Now, these knobs are all numbered here. They're numbered 1 through 8, and that really is just the number of the knob on the front of the device. It has no relationship to the CC that's actually being sent. In fact, each of these knobs can be configured to send any CC. I can have this one send CC10, and this 7, and this 12, and this 200. Well, can't do 200, can we? It's a 7-bit word. Only goes to 127. So if we turn this knob, we'll see that it has a range from 0 up to 127. And that's the max. And we have 127 possible different knobs. There are many ways that we could adjust which one of these knobs is sending which control change message. Very often, on the outside of the device itself, there'll be some kind of advanced function that can be used to really control what this device is actually sending. I could configure this to send CC1, I could configure it to send CC4 by using the advanced functions that are kind of written above the keys, and many devices will have something like that. Where you hit like an advanced function button and then you use the individual keys to send different commands right to the device itself, so I could change the functionality of these knobs. Another way that's actually a little nicer to use usually is having a piece of software in your computer that adjusts what the device actually does. So it'll be a piece of software that you install when you buy the device that will actually be able to adjust what the functionality of the keyboard is. One thing you do want to know how to accomplish on your keyboard is changing what channel it sends on. There are often issues when your keyboard is sending on a channel other than one. Most DAWs and synths and samplers will be expecting the MIDI data to come on channel 1. But if your controller gets set up to send on a different channel, then you might find the DAW or the synth or sampler not to respond as expected. So I would suggest you take a moment, if you do own a controller, to kind of look through the manual and see what the different functionalities are and how you can adjust it. There are many other great functionalities like velocity curve, which you can adjust for your kind of playing style. And aftertouch curve, for how hard you have to push on the keyboard before it'll respond. So those kind of parameters are great and allows you to kind of customize the device to your needs. So I would suggest go through your manual, just explore it a little bit and see how you can adjust the parameters on the device itself.